Hi, I'm Stephen Van Tassel. You're listening to Living the Wildlife, discussing all things related to vertebrate pest control as part of the Pest Geek podcast family. Hi, I'm Stephen Van Tassel, wildlife control consultant, bringing you another episode of Living the Wildlife as part of the Pest Geek podcast family. Glad to have you on board. I hope you had a great week. I've been fairly busy, although my life is starting to stabilize a little bit more, but we're really glad to have you on board. If you need to have questions, you have comments, thoughts about the show, you can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. If you have perhaps a project, perhaps you have some ghostwriting to do, or perhaps you have a PowerPoint you'd like to have tweaked up, you can also reach me again at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Well, this week I want to talk about track traps or tracking plates. These are often used by biologists to get the footprints of animals, to have population surveys, perhaps to just see their presence. Now, for us in our work, we're not really interested in doing a population survey per se, but there are situations where you're just wanting to know whether a particular animal is around, how well you've done in terms of your control. But sometimes it's nice to have an option, because you don't always have situations where trail cameras may be the best situation for what you're dealing with. So a track plate basically is, and let me hold this up for you, be careful. It's where the animal will walk across it, and then as they touch it, you'll see that they'll leave prints. Now, I've had to smudge it a little bit. They will pull that off with the pads of their foot, and they'll leave very light markings. I'll show you another one here. It's going to be a little hard to see because it is so light, and I also am not using a light background on this, so I wouldn't recommend it. That's why I'm moving to white. Okay, but nevertheless, we'll show you a close-up shot of that. You'll see little specks because these are either going to be voles in this case or deer mice walking across this, and obviously there's not a lot of weight on that. So we're going to show you how to build that. Another thing that you can do is, if you're not just wanting the plate itself, is you can put the plate in the middle of paper like this, and the animal will simply walk on the plate and then walk onto the paper and leave the markings like I used with my finger. That's another option for you. Okay, you might want to try that. But nevertheless, what you're going to do is you're going to take some tile like this, and you're going to then get some lamp black powder. It's pretty dark, but it looks nastier than it is. It does wash off, or you could use gloves on it, of course. And we're going to pour some of this into a container. You also need to have a brush. Get an old one. You don't need anything too fancy per se. And then you also need to have methanol, alcohol here as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to take some of the lamp black, and I'm going to pull this out here like this, and then I'm going to move this over so you can see what I'm doing, and just pour some. You don't have to get too crazy. You don't have to get too crazy with measurements per se. You'll figure it out. It's not too hard. Make sure you seal it up, because the stuff goes all over the place, to be sure. Don't do this on a white carpet, to be sure. So I'm out here in my garage, and it's cold here in Montana, and then you're just going to pour a little bit of the alcohol in, just so that you kind of make a slurry with it so it'll pick up. Start with a little. You don't need a lot here. Create a little bit of a slurry with it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to try to create a smooth, maybe I didn't use enough liquid here, but we'll see. No, I didn't use enough liquid, so let me add a little bit more. Try to mix it up a little bit. And then what you're looking to do is to create a smooth line like that. And then what happens is the alcohol will evaporate off Try to do it on a level surface, because otherwise the liquid will pull the lamp black off the surface. And then you let it dry. Now I have a lot here, so I'm going to try to do a little bit more before I lose all of my alcohol. You can see how the gravity pulls it in different directions, so you want to try to find a more level surface if you can. And then just simply wait for it to dry, and then place it in an area where you think rodents are going to be moving. And that's basically it. So this will dry in about 15 minutes, even though it's only 14 degrees outside here in Montana. This will dry. I'm in my garage here, as you can tell. This will dry pretty quickly. That alcohol is evaporating off. It'll leave you a smooth surface, and then you just place this object in places where you're going to see the rodents go. If you have a little track plate, it could be sort of something if you're doing an education day, or something that you might want to experiment with, and perhaps even get some nice tracks, because for small mammals, this can be a great way for you to go. And it's just another tool in your toolbox to think about. So hope you enjoyed that. Again, I'm Stephen Van Tassel. You've been listening to Living the Wildlife, and we are here dealing with track plates or track traps. Track plates is probably the better word for it. So I hope you find that useful for you. Again, if you're wondering what we're all about here at Living the Wildlife, we're all about research-based technical information on all things related to wildlife control. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, yes, even criticisms, you can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Do take a few moments, if you would, to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you can be notified of new shows in the future. I tend to publish about once a week, and we have about 5 years of material. So probably there's a topic there that you will find interesting, and we'd love to get your comments. If you want to be on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Again, you can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. And this is Living the Wildlife. Why do we call it Living the Wildlife? Well, because we want you to live the wildlife, not be the wildlife. Take care, everybody. This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant and Living the Wildlife podcast. Vertebrate pest control is an inherently dangerous activity involving risk of bodily injury to you, others, and/or property. Vertebrate pest control also involves legal issues, so be sure to always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and/or other control methods when controlling pests. Wildlife Control Consultant, LLC, Stephen M. Van Tassel, or their affiliates are not responsible for your use of the information provided here. Always consult a qualified and appropriate professional before employing the information provided.